Somebody's got to say they're sorry. Somebody's got to outline what they want. So anytime you have a disagreement like this, what's the desired outcome? What do we want out of this? It's just not to hear an apology. We want this to be fixed. We want this to go forward to where we can show each other love, we can be together, we can love each other, we can be together the rest of our lives. And since I put my ideal scenario in here, I also threw grandkids in. All right, being a grandpa, I know what it's like to not be able to see the little ones. So you always want to be with those kids, you want to be around them, you want to spend time with them. So that's what we're trying to go. We're going to an ideal scenario to where we can work these things out. Hey, welcome to another episode of What's Your Problem? I'm Scot Ferrell, your host. Just look around. Today we're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be allowed to film at the Currahee Club in beautiful Toccoa, Georgia. If you've never been here, I think it's one of the friendliest small towns I've ever been to. A little story before we get to the problems of today. We go into Bojangles for the first time. Never been to this town. You know, I'm from Charlotte, so Bojangles is on the map for me. We go in and there's a group of about 11 older men, retired, just hanging out. We walk around, my wife and I, and they go, "Who are you?" And they're not being mean. They're trying to figure out, who are you guys? Are you new to our town? Is there something we can do for you? Well, today, before we got here, we stopped by to get some coffee. Same guys, really sweet, super guys. First time I've ever been to a town, and I'm from a population several town, of friendly people. Everywhere you go, somebody asks you if they can do something for you. And then we get to the club here, and it's funny because they're filming a movie out on the course today. It's funny that we decided to film here at the same time, but it's interesting because we decided we were going to show the lake and the course and the mountains. Well, guess what? We got here at the wrong time of day. So you got to do that in the afternoon, not in the morning. So today you get the clubhouse. The next time we film here, you'll get the golf course, the lake, Lake Hartwell, and the mountains, because it's beautiful here. So if you've ever thought about coming to a club, you might want to check this one out if you're in the area. I've met members today from as far as Buffalo, some from Canada, California. So it does range on who's a member here. Now, today I did something risky in my business. I'm going back to the way I used to do radio. You call in, cold question, I haven't heard it, and then I'm going to answer it on the radio. Well, today I'm going to do that for you. I've got several questions here. I probably won't get through all of them, but I'm going to answer them. I haven't seen the questions, haven't rehearsed the questions, and I'm going to answer them. Chances are you're probably going to have some of the same questions. All right, number one question, first question. What do I do when my son won't speak to me? Well, you know, that's a cold question, and there's a lot of things I'd have to ask. All right, age, what happened, how old are you, how old is he elementary school, middle school, high school, college, wife, kids, no wife or kids, where's he located in the world? There's a lot of variables with this. So let's throw out a scenario. So let's give a scenario and I'll answer the direct scenario. Let's say that mom and son are adults now, and son's an adult, and let's say that he's married. Let's give him a wife and kids. So he's got a wife and kids, and he and mom aren't talking. All right, that's easy enough. Get that a lot. So what do? Well, the question is, what can you do, and what caused it? I mean, I get a cold question like, what do I do when my son won't speak to me? Well, what happened? I mean, this can be a wide spectrum of things. So mom could not like the wife. Mom could have said something to the son about the wife. The mom could have said something directly to the wife. I understand, I've got in-laws, or I've got a father-in-law left, and I've had previous in-laws when I was previously married. So could go back to childhood. Did something happen when the guy was a little boy? Did something happen in college? Did mom and dad get divorced and wasn't really sure what was going on? So it's a spectrum of things. Now, what can you do to get your son to talk to you? I think Home Alone's probably our token example. What do I mean by that? If you'll remember, the little boy left at home in Chicago with his parents. Parents go on vacation, he's at home. There's an older gentleman that's next door. He's the one that hits Joe Pesci in the face with the shovel. He had not spoken to his son in years. I don't remember what the issue was, but the little boy tells him, why don't you call your son, invite him over for Christmas? Broke the ice. Sure enough, as the movie ends, he waves at Macaulay Culkin from the window, and his son's there, and he's hugging his granddaughter. Same thing here. A lot of times, there's hard feelings between family members, whether it's father-son, father-daughter, mother-daughter, mother-son, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, doesn't matter. Somebody's got to make the first step. It's always about the first step. Somebody's got to say, let's talk. Let's get this worked out if you want to. See, a lot of variables here. Everyone in every family doesn't necessarily want to work things out. Sometimes you don't need to. I mean, again, I deal with some crazy stories with families. Some of the things I have to deal with as a consultant are amazing. So let's just say it was an argument over the wife or something that mom didn't like or son didn't like. Okay. So I'm going to give you 2 words that change a situation most of the time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's get this behind us. Whoever the offender is, and this is the thing, you really learn this in marriage, it's what's the goal? Let's say I'm married. I'm married. What's the goal between my wife and I? To live a stress-free, strife-free, peace-filled, joy-filled life together. Yes, do we argue? Yeah, we can go round and round because we both don't like to lose. Okay. But we know at the end of the day, we're never getting divorced and we love each other intimately. And so we're going to work this out. Okay, let's look at mom and son. Since we're going with an ideal scenario, such as something was said, somebody's feelings got hurt, let's patch this up. I'm sorry. Son, I'm sorry. Practice with me here. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Say it again. I'm sorry, please forgive me. That smooths over a lot. Let me throw in a little from myself in my past. My dad and I went a while without speaking. Difficult between my dad and I. He got sick and he was dying. All right, so now we got a clock. We put a clock on how long he and I had to work this out. So now we know he's got 3 months to live. No negotiation. We've got to do something about it. So I wrote him a letter. All right, so I didn't want him to go to the grave with this because there's no way to reconcile that once he's gone. Wrote him a letter. He got right back to me, called me on the phone, apologized, said he was sorry for everything. And then for the next 3 months, we spent every single moment we could together. So we were able to live a whole lifetime of love and relationship. I think I was 20 years old at the time, getting ready to turn 21. So in 3 months, we caught up on 20 years, basically. And we're expressing things. And, my dad told me he loved me once, the day before he died, and hugged me for the first time in my life. So all things can be solvable if both parties want it solvable. So let me go back to the original question. What do I do when my son won't speak to me? You got to start with, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Because chances are, there's something done by one or the other party. Eventually, somebody's got to be big enough to apologize. Now, the key is, in a perfect scenario, you both want to patch this up. That's not always the case. I mean, again, how many times do I see scenarios where they hate each other? It'd probably be the best thing if they never spoke again. I've had some scenarios to where I had students once upon a time when I was a teacher, where the mother was a call girl and would turn tricks in front of the child and deal crack, cocaine, and heroin right there, and the little boy would hold the money. Okay, so it's all over the board with questions like this, but this question in particular, somebody's got to say they're sorry. Somebody's got to outline what they want. So anytime you have a disagreement like this, what's the desired outcome? What do we want out of this? It's just not to hear an apology. We want this to be fixed. We want this to go forward to where we can show each other love, we can be together, we can love each other, we can be together the rest of our lives. And since I put my ideal scenario in here, I also threw grandkids in. All right, being a grandpa, I know what it's like to not be able to see the little ones. So you always want to be with those kids, you want to be around them, you want to spend time with them. So that's what we're trying to go. We're going to an ideal scenario to where we can work these things out. All right, so let's recap because I'm going to try to get two questions done here. All right, so what do I do if my son won't speak to me? Say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Outline what you really want out of this. Say you want to be together, you want to love each other, you want to progress into the future, and you want to go forward. Because, again, look at my dad and I, we had 3 months to patch everything up, and we realized that we weren't going to go any farther. There was nothing we could do. There was no farther we could go with this. All right, so hopefully this one helps. All right, so let me go ahead and give you our website in case you've got something. I'm going to answer 2 questions in this segment. All right, so if you've got a question for me, so if you want to address something, let's say, all right, Scott, will you expound on this one? Okay, sure. Problem at wyppodcast.com, and that's problem at wyppodcast.com. And then if you want to send me something, if you want some resources, tips, something I've done on the show, it's wyppodcast.com. All right, so problem at wyppodcast.com is how you reach me. All right, let's do one more question with this one. I'm laughing. I'm just reading this one. This was me. Okay, so I'm answering a question about me on this one. My teenager just broke up with his girlfriend and is devastated. As a parent, what do I do? All right, I remember, man, I was devastated in high school. Oh my goodness, I loved this girl. It's funny that we still talk to this day, even though she devastated me, broke my heart, ripped it out, stomped on it again. I'm okay with it. It's high school, man. We're not supposed to get married anyway most of the time. So what do you do? All right. Is love avoidable in high school? Well, you can be if you want to be a wallflower and you don't want to date or go to the prom or go to a dance or anything. Okay. But what happens? Most kids, I taught high school for, good grief, over 20 years. How many times did I experience this in the classroom where a girl comes in crying, I've had boys cry, their heart's been ripped out, but somebody they thought they were going to marry even though they'd only been dated 2 weeks. They'd already planned the wedding. She's the love of my life. I don't know how I'm ever going to get through this. And tears and tears. And I had a rule in my class. If a young lady comes in and she's crying, nobody asks. Nobody's allowed to address it. We just give them a hall pass and let them go to the bathroom and handle it. We don't want to talk about it. And the boys were cool with that. All right, so let's reverse this. Now we've got a young man. He's come home. Chances are, let's see, my teenager. Normally boys address mama with this one. It's not dad because for some reason we think dad can only bring money home. I think we always go to mom because if we break our arm, which we do a lot, we go see mama because mama's the one that smooths things over, makes us feel good about us, and tells us we're lovable and wonderful. All right, so let's pretend, because my wife would have handled this question, not me. There's no way our son, our youngest, would have brought this question to me. Then you have to say, all right, so the way to handle this now that I'm, do what I do as far as consulting, you always have to look at it in a larger spectrum. If you can let a teenager see that this one little dot on the timeline is just the dot and not their whole life. So many times in high school, and I'm going to say high school, when I was in high school, it was 10, 11, 12. We think we're the only person on the planet. We think we're the only ones that can hurt. And we're all tied up in hormones, and we don't know who we are, where we're going, or what we're going to do, because my generation a lot of times did not spend a lot of time with their mom or dad talking about the future. We talked about stuff, but it wasn't really, hey, sit down like the Bradys did, the Brady bunch, with a whiteboard or chalkboard like Mr. Brady did, and outline things with your kids. We may sort of talk about college and sort of talk about money and sort of talk about a lot, but we don't really go in depth about anything. Because of that, I went through everything. We've got one that's 21 now. I went through everything. We had Thursday nights to where we drew everything on a whiteboard. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What Scott asked you to be? Where do you want to live? Where do you want to travel? Who do you want to marry? What's she look like? Now, if we take this into a wide spectrum. Now, let's say this young man's a junior. That's normally when the heartache comes, is when you're a junior. Why do I know that? I kept a stat over all the years I taught high school. And normally the devastation for some reason took place in junior year with a lot of the kids I had, and my year was junior too. So I was devastated when I was a junior. All right, so what am I thinking about when I'm a junior? Surviving, working, getting a job, getting a car. Guys think about 2 things, girls and jobs, and cars. So actually 3, girls, jobs, and cars. Normally it's girls first, jobs, cars, because you gotta have a job for the car. Not much else. Now we kind of, because if you're 16, college seems eons away. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be old by the time I get there. I'm at the age now to where I thought I had 1 foot in the grave when I was 18. So now we have to look and get a broad spectrum. All right, so chances are, let's say this guy's been dating this girl 2 months. In high school, that's an eternity. Normally it's 2 to 3 weeks. Why is he heartbroken? Well, he's invested so much time and she's his dream girl, and he's fantasized in her head about how beautiful she is, how she smells, how lovely she is. He's watched her walk down the hall before he asked her out. He's probably got class with her. He's taken her on a date. It's on and on. And then she's probably sprayed perfume on something and he smells it. I mean, that's what high school kids did, especially when we were in high school. But then if you go, all right, let's sit down and look at this. And this works a lot better if you're in a happy marriage mom. Let's look at this. All right, so you're 16. All right, let's draw this out. An actuary firm says you're going to die at 79.8, but I'm going to give you the 90. All right, so 16 to 90. All right, do you think that you're going to go on a couple more dates between the age of 16 and 90? All right, so now let's back this up even farther. What's God asked you to do? So let's say the child's got a relationship with his creator. What's God giving you to do as a purpose, plan, direction? That's what I tell young couples all the time. Does this individual that you're dating currently fit into God's plan for your life? Are they a believer? What do they want to do? Where do they want to live? Where do they want to travel to? See, I try to teach kids and adults. Man, I have this conversation with adults more than kids. You got to get past the pheromone exchange, their smell. You've got to get past the perfume because it's so lovely. You've got to get past what she looks like and how she made you feel. And think about, where's she going to college? Where am I? Is she going straight into a trade? Am I? Are we both just going to go to work and go to community college? Or are we both just going to go to work? Where's she going? What's her programming like? What's her family like? I remember none of that mattered to me. I'd met a girl, I'm not going to use her name now, but I was head over heels in love with her. 15, 16 years old. All right, chances are we dated for a while, and then she decided I was not for her. Okay, easy enough. I was completely devastated. Didn't want to eat, didn't want to sleep. Oh my goodness, I just on and the tears. And then I got up one day and go, what's wrong with me? We're not even going in the same direction. She wants to stay here. I figured this out when I was a kid. When I was 16, I got a map out and said, okay, I live in Huntersville, North Carolina. There's I-85 and there's I-77. They go north and south. I can take either one. I think I-77 went, yeah, it did. North and south. Okay. I can get on those and I can go to Miami, or I can go to all the way to New York, or I can go all the way to Ohio, or I can get on 40, which goes through North Carolina too, and I can go all the way to California. I don't want to live here. She does. All right, so I started to make a list. I'm a list guy. I'm on the spectrum, so it's a little easier for me. And I started to make a list of all the pros and cons. Once I got past the endorphin rush, once I got over how beautiful her hair was and her smile and the perfume and on, I started to think, because boys have trouble thinking sometimes. And I started to think about, what's my priorities in life? What do I really want? Where am I going? See, because I didn't really have someone to talk to when I was a kid. I didn't have a mom I could talk to. So I went to the neighbor, or I had a neighbor, Gary Carter, wonderful man. I go to Gary. So I talked everything over with Gary, or I had an Aunt Frances I'd go talk to. And she would bring this up. Scott, this is not what you want. She's one girl, and then my Aunt Frances was sweet enough to go, you're going to date more than one girl your whole life. Chances are you're not even going to marry the girl you date in high school. And sure enough, I think I had one couple, still married. How long I'm doing the math here? 38 years ago, they got married this summer. So it's 37.8. They got married as soon as we graduated. They're still happily married today with multiple children. They're the only people I graduated with out of a class of, I don't remember, close to 400, I think. So out of 400 people, 2 people got married and have lasted 38 years. So what am I saying? We always have to teach our kids. It's not who we date right now in high school. It's our long-term plan of purpose, plan, direction. Where's God want me? What do I want out of life? How is God going to use my skill set in life? And then once I figure that out, now I can decide who I'm going to date, who I'm going to fall in love with, who I'm going to give a chance to break my heart. Because what I saw as a teacher and as a parent and as a child, we tend to do things in reverse. We fall for somebody in high school. We're head over heels in love with them. We'll do whatever they tell us to do. They lead us around by the nose, and that's in reverse order. So as mom, that's what you do. You sit down with them and go, what do you want long term? Is it college? Is it work right out of high school? Is it technical school and work right out of high school? Is it traveling? Is it going to Europe? Is it going to Asia? What are you going to do with it? What's the long-term plan? what do you want? And then have them make out a list of what they want. All right, so now let's say you've got a relationship with Christ. What does he want you to do, and how does that fit in? And does this young lady really fit into that? See, this seems like let me read it again. My teenager just broke up with his girlfriend. He's totally devastated. What do? It sounds like an easy fix, but is it? It's always going to go back as a parent. Anytime we talk to our kids, pre them leaving home, it's always about purpose, plan, direction. What is it that God's given them to do for the rest of their lives? And then we organize every single thing around that. All right. So I hope that helped. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for right now. It's great that people at the club gave me these questions.